Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about a few new products. We have the new Surratt highlighters, and thank you so much to Surratt for sending me these. We also have the new Armani Luminous Silk blushes, the cheek tints. So I purchased 3 of those. And then we also have some lipsticks from Fluency Beauty. So Fluency Beauty, you might not have heard of it because it is a rebrand for the brand Ada Lip Beauty, which I have featured on my channel before. They were some lipsticks that I had picked up, a few years back. So they have rebranded or renamed their company to Fluency Beauty. So we're going to take a look at the 3 shades that they offer there. And these were sent to me as well. So thank you so much to Fluency. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's start off with the sticks from Fluency. So these are actually a multi-stick product. I've been calling them a lipstick because that's primarily how I like to wear them, but they're actually a multi-stick that can be used for the eyes, the cheeks, or the lips. And Fluency is a vegan brand. They are everything is like plant-based. Even the packaging here is biodegradable. So once you're done with this and you dispose of it, it's biodegradable and will break down within a year. So, they're really an environmentally conscious brand. And again, as I mentioned, they were previously known as Ada Lip Beauty. And this was the packaging for the lipsticks before. So we do have some new shades, and we're going to swatch the new shades and the old shades. So the one on my lips is called I Am Brave. This is my favorite. And this one here, this is I Am Brave. So you can see it's really pigmented right off the start. You could get this a little bit softer just by patting it on gently, which actually this is a pretty soft application on my lips right now. But you can see that we have a pretty true red. It's neutral. It leans a little bit cool. So when you build it up, it looks like a cooler tone red. But you can see that with the sheer swatch, it's really a pretty neutral red. And you can see we have slim style packaging here. And we'll talk more about the details. That was not all the way up, by the way. We'll talk more about the details later, but it is going to be a click closure. And next we have the shade I Am Perfect. And this one is going to be best for those with a warm undertone. This is actually smooth, but I keep redoing this swatch because I banged it and kind of messed it up. So that's why the first part looks a little wonky there. But you can see that we do have definitely some yellow tones in here. You can see some yellow around the edges and so forth. So this is one that's definitely going to be best for your warmer undertones. And it is going to be kind of like a golden nude. And then our last shade is called I Am Powerful. And this is described as a deep brown. And you can see there is still a little red in here. I'd say it's like a brownish burgundy. And again, the undertones on this one are a little warm. You can see a little bit of a golden hue in there. But when you build it up, it definitely looks a lot cooler and you see more of that red there. So these are the 3 shades. And again, these can be used on the lips, the cheeks, or the eyes. Let's just add a little bit to my cheek right now, just so you can see that. And currently on my cheeks, I have the Armani Cheek Tint in Mauve, along with the Surratt highlighter in Frou Frou. So let me just bring you in a little closer and we'll try it out on the cheeks. So we're going to take the I Am Brave, which is my favorite. And I'm trying to get just a tiny bit here. And that actually smooths on very nicely. I think it complements the lipstick. I mean, obviously it matches the lipstick, but I think, it gives you that nice monochromatic look there. And let me just add a little bit to the other side here. And you can see I'm going in very lightly. Don't need much of this at all. And because I am using so little, I actually don't even feel the product on my skin. Like there may be a little bit of tackiness, from the hydration in the product, but nothing major. So you can see it goes on very nicely on the cheeks. Let's move on to the lip swatches. We'll come back and we'll compare the other shades. And while we're looking at these swatches, let's talk a little bit about product details. So the Fluency Multisticks have pigments derived from plants. We have 1.8 grams of product here. and it is vegan, it's plant-powered, Leaping Bunny certified, and cruelty-free. They also feature a full circle ethos. So according to Fluency, we return what we take. Our packaging is made from corn, fully breaking down in the soil in less than a year. These multi-sticks are made in New York and they retail for $26 US. You can purchase them directly from Fluency Beauty, and right now they are offering a free makeup bag with your gift of your first purchase of the multi-sticks. The shade I Am Brave is described as a semi-matte red with blue undertones that's sheer and buildable. And the pigments are from radish and potatoes. So again, it's plant-based and sustainable. And they do feature the full ingredient list on their website. So there is a fragrance to this. It's not an added fragrance, but you can smell the vegetables, like the radish and things like that. So there is a little bit of a scent to it. I Am Perfect is described as a semi-matte, sheer and buildable blushy nude shade. And again, I think this one, it definitely leans a bit warm. In this case, our pigments are derived from turmeric, beets, radish, and spirulina. I Am Powerful is described as a semi-matte, sheer and buildable deep brown shade with purple undertones, and our pigments are derived from turmeric, beets, potatoes, radish, and spirulina. So just a few things to note there. Overall, I think these are a really beautiful product. I personally really like them. The I Am Brave is my favorite, and from the previous line, I Am Brave, it was my favorite then as well. And so we'll take a look at those new shades and the older shades. So let's move on to that. So again, we have I Am Brave, I Am Perfect, and I Am Powerful. These are our three new ones. Let's take a look at the older versions. You can see they were more in your traditional lipstick packaging, but now that they are an actual true multi-stick, they have the slim style packaging. So you can see that the new version is going to be more pigmented. This is actually a bit more red. The original has a little bit more pink in it, and it's a little bit more sheer. I Am Perfect is also a repeat shade. I'm going to put this on the side. I didn't leave quite enough space there. And you can see that they are pretty similar. I do think that the new I Am Perfect runs just a little bit, has a little bit more yellow in the base, but they're pretty similar on the lips. And, I wouldn't even say that the older one is more sheer than the new one, really just for the I Am Brave. And then our last shade was I Am Whole, which was a red mahogany. We'll put this down here. And you can see it's very different from the I Am Powerful. You can see it's significantly more sheer. So overall, I think these are a great product. I do want to note, if you have the older version, these also have kind of that vegetable fragrance to them, but it's a little bit softer. I do feel like it's a little bit more intense in the newer ones. Now, it could be just that my products have gotten older, but, I did want to just make that note there. But I love the fact that these are vegan, they're smooth, they go on easily, they're very pigmented with one swipe, but you can definitely sheer them out, and they're comfortable. And, I always remove my lipstick when I'm eating unless I'm doing like a wear test for something. And I love the fact that I don't really have to think about that with these because they are plant-based. So yeah, I'm really happy with these. All right, so let's move on to the Surratt highlighters. So these are a liquid highlighter, and we have three shades. So this first one here is called Chi. So you can see we have kind of this bronzy shade. This is the deepest of the three, and I actually really love it. It actually works on my skin tone as well. I think it's just a really pretty bronze shade. You can sheer it out. Packaging wise, I'm not the biggest fan of Surratt's packaging like this. So I have to say though, I didn't have to twist these up as much in the beginning as I did with the blushes. You can see that's this one's right now having a little bit of an issue coming up, but you can see, the product comes up well. I do think, it's a little bit too intense to go directly onto the skin for me, but I love kind of just dabbing my finger on here and applying it that way. So packaging for me is not my favorite, but I do really like the shade and the product. Now, the one I have on my skin right now is Frou Frou. And you can see this is going to be your soft pale pink. Just put a little bit more on here. This is really light, so because it is so light, you know, I just really wanted to build that up so you could see what it looks like. It's kind of like that opalescent white pink shade. So this is Frou Frou. And for fair skin, this is kind of your perfect everyday light highlighter. And then the last one is Lame, which, you know, anytime I see a gold highlighter, I'm a little nervous. But this one is not too gold. It's a really soft gold. So that's it kind of built up. And then let me just get a little bit more here to buff that in. You can see that this is a really soft, light gold. So it's actually kind of refreshing to see a gold so light, because typically I have to stay away from the true golden highlighters. This is more of a beige nude soft gold. And this one here, our Frou Frou, is going to be kind of that light whitish pink. And then Chi Chi is our deeper bronze. So I have to say I really like them, but I do wish maybe they had a fourth shade or something here, because we've got one deep and two light. There isn't really a true medium shade. You can definitely use these for medium skin tones. You can use any of them for fair skin. And yeah, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing a fourth shade in here. So these are the three shades. Let's take a look at the swatches. So the Surratt Artistique highlighters have 8.1 grams of product. That's 0.28 ounces. And these are going to be made in Japan. And as I mentioned, we have kind of this sponge tip applicator with a twist up on the bottom. And these have a 1-year shelf life. So the Artistique liquid highlighters retail for $54 US. And as I mentioned, we have three shades. Chi Chi, which I described as a bronze, but they describe it as a rose gold. Lame is a champagne gold, which I think is a perfect description. And Frou Frou is your opalescent pink. This is described as a lustrous liquid highlighter that gives a lasting glow. So this product was inspired by their liquid blushes, and it adds brightness and amplifies your skin radiance. For application recommendations, Surratt recommends using the sponge tip to bounce the highlighter on the high points of your face for natural looking luminosity. Tap on until you achieve your desired glow. The formula is buildable and won't disturb your base makeup. Layer with our Artistique powder or liquid blushes for additional brilliance. So that is according to Surratt. Now, my personal opinions is, I have to say I really like these highlighters. I don't love their liquid blushes because I feel like although these formulas are very similar, to build up that color, I really need to use a lot more product, and I don't find that to be as effective. Now, as for my thoughts on these liquid highlighters, first of all, formula-wise, I think that the formula, it goes on very nicely. It has a bit of a sheen without glitter. You can dab this on lightly, although they recommend using the sponge tip applicator to bounce this off. For me, it's just a little bit too large, and I don't have quite as much control over the product because obviously till you kind of smush that into the applicator, you've got areas with a higher concentration of product. So I prefer to use my finger or a brush to kind of tap on the product personally. But I do really like it because it sinks into the skin. It doesn't feel like it's there, and it lasts all day. So I've actually been wearing these for a few days, and they really do hold up throughout the day with no fading. So I'll have the same amount of sheen at the beginning of the day as the end of the day. So I think that's really commendable. Now, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of their liquid blushes. Although they do have a similar formula, their liquid blushes are a bit more sheer. So I have to use more product to build that up. And you know, I find this formula is more effective in the highlighter, possibly partly because you don't need as much product. So, you know, it goes on very smoothly, easily, it blends out, and you don't feel it at all. So I really like these. I, again, am not the biggest fan of the applicator, but I really like the product. And the applicator, because I don't need to use a ton of it, the applicator is not a big deal in this particular product for me. So overall, I have to say, I think they're really nice. And I really like all three of these shades. You know, I wasn't sure if Chi Chi was going to be for me, but I surprisingly like it. You can use this one kind of almost as like a little bit of a liquid bronzer even, and it gives a really nice glow to the skin as well. But I think Frou Frou is probably the one I'll use the most. And I do really like that Lame shade, which again, anytime something's described as a gold, it kind of scares me a little bit, but it's really just a beautiful, soft, kind of like a brushed champagne gold. So I'm really happy with these. I think they did a nice job. So let's go ahead and take a look at a few comparisons. Now, the classic Surratt highlighters, these are the Torche Lumiere highlighters, and these are probably still my favorite stick highlighters. This is the shade Diamante. You can see it has a nice sheen to it, and this is like a true champagne. So you can see in comparison, Lame has a bit more gold to it than Diamante. But absolutely beautiful. Still an absolute favorite of mine. I hope they are not planning to get rid of these at all. And then I also have the shade Rose Diamante. There is a third shade that I have never picked up. But you can see that that is going to be very similar to Frou Frou. Although I feel like with Frou Frou, you can see that opalescent white a bit more, whereas with the Rose Diamante, you're truly looking at just a pink. So just a little bit of a difference there, but I think these are really beautiful. And then the last comparison I wanted to take a look at is the Givenchy. This is the Prisme Libre highlighter in Rose. And it made me think of Frou Frou a little bit. So let's see if we can squeeze that in right here. But yeah, actually, let's move it down here even. This is definitely not as pink as Frou Frou. Put it right there as well. Yeah, it's kind of like a cross between Frou Frou and Lame, but not really so gold. So no, that was not a good comparison. And let's go ahead and move on to our next product, the Armani Cheek Tints. So I purchased 3 of the new Luminous Silk Cheek Tints from Armani. So this one here is shade 50.5, and this one is Rosy Peach. And we're gonna go ahead, we'll put these on my hand for now. And you can see that it looks kind of, has more of an orangey look here. Kind of like a bright coral. So I would actually describe this more as a bright coral versus a rosy peach. But I can see where they get that from. But you can see we've got, it's definitely bright, like a little bit of, I wouldn't go as far as like neon, but you know, that level of brightness. And then you have a little bit of pink in here, but it definitely leans a little bit more orangey peach than pink. And you can really sheer that out to a very, very soft shade. I think it's a really beautiful shade, and it adds a little bit of brightness. I think it's really fun. Then we have 53, which is bold pink. And you can see that this looks like a cool tone pink, and that's exactly what it is. So let me go ahead and buff this out here. And you can see it's just kind of your light, soft pink with a little bit of a blue undertone to it. So this will be a cool tone pink. And then our last shade here is number 62, Delicate Mauve. And this is what I have on my cheeks, which is now underneath the I Am Brave. And it's a really beautiful mauve shade. You know, I think this is a really nice dusty rose / mauve. You definitely have the mauve tones in there, but you have a little bit of dustiness to it as well. So these are 3 I picked up, and I have to say I really like these. Let's take a look at the cheek swatches. So the Luminous Silk Cheek Tints have 12 milliliters of product. They have a 6-month shelf life, and they are made in France. They retail for $39 US. We currently have 6 shades available. Now, according to Armani, it's a lightweight liquid blush that quickly melts into skin to deliver a luminous flush of color for a glowing makeup look that lasts up to 12 hours. It's a hydrating cheek tint made with their microfill technology, allowing it to blend seamlessly into skin without looking patchy. The buildable formula can be used to create a healthy looking flush of color or a sun-kissed look. And I have to say, I think these are a really nice cheek tint. They're definitely really easy to apply and blend out. They do not look patchy. They give a little bit of that luminous shine to them. There is no glitter in them. And, you know, I think they're really nice because they do kind of sink into your skin and they sort of set. Now, as for the fact that you get 12 hours of, you know, a glowing makeup look, according to Armani, I think that's a little bit exaggerated. For me, I do get some fading by the end of the day. So wearing these, you know, it never goes away. I have not seen it fade completely, but it is definitely not as pigmented at the end of the day than it is at the beginning of the day. So there is some fading with this cheek product. And overall though, I have to say that the fading is pretty minimal and I really like it. So I think this is a really nice cheek tint and I like how it's not too sheer. Sometimes when you're working with some of these liquid cheek tints, it's like when you're trying to shear it out or buff it into the skin, it's almost like it disappears in a way or it will, you know, remove your base. And I haven't had that issue at all with either of these or with any of these. So I think it's a really nice product. So I have to say, I think these are a winner. Now, I wanted to do a few comparisons. These are some of the Valentino lip and cheek tints. And, you know, this is what I thought of right away. So let's actually start with this one here. These are my 3 closest shades to the Armani that I own. And this one here is 488A. And let's see how this compares to our peachy shade here. You can see that this is going to be deeper and more pigmented overall. So it's definitely a deeper shade. And again, this is 488A. And these are the Liqua Rossos from Valentino. So they're actually lip and cheek. And then we have this one here, which is going to be 302R. And you can see this is also a cool tone pink. I have a broken applicator on this one that I forgot to contact them about. So, but you can see that this is going to be a brighter pink comparatively, but you can really sheer this one out as well, but it's going to be a bit more fuchsia in it compared to the Armani. And then this one here is 109R. This is my most used shade from the Valentino. I love these. So these are great on the cheeks and the lips, but you can see these shades are going to be pretty similar. The Armani has a little bit more pink in it. Like a bit more of a brighter pink, whereas we've got a little bit more rose, dusty rose in the Valentino. So kind of, they're pretty close. So those are my 3 closest from Valentino. Now, this is the Surratt powder brush in Guimauve. They also have this shade in the liquid blush, but I think I've already purged mine. So I just wanted to show you how the shade compares. Those shades are fairly similar. The Surratt's actually just a little bit warmer in tone. And this is the shade Parfait, which is also one of the liquid blushes. One of my favorite blush shades actually from Surratt. You can see that's going to be pretty similar to the Rosy Peach shade from Armani, but it has a little bit more pink in it. And then La Vie en Rose is a powder blush. I don't believe this one was done in a liquid formula from Surratt, but it was kind of my closest shade. So I figured might as well swatch them while I have them out. So I hope this has been helpful. Let's sum up what we've looked at today. We started off with the Fluency multi-stick products, which can be used on cheeks, lips, or eyes. These are vegan. They are made from plant pigments, and the packaging is biodegradable. Definitely a great eco-conscious choice. They are smooth, they go on, they're pretty pigmented, but you can shear them out. And they have a pretty good long wear. They're gonna all have that semi-matte finish. I have I Am Brave on, which is my personal favorite. So definitely check these out. I think they are an excellent item. And then we took a look at the new shades of the Surratt liquid highlighters. And I have to say, I really love these. So the formula itself, although similar to those in the blushes, I find it to be more effective and just perform a little bit better as highlight versus as blush. And yeah, I have to say, I really like them, and they last all day. And there's no tackiness or stickiness with these, and no like glitter chunks or anything like that. So love, kept thinking they were here, but I have to say, I really do love the Surratt highlighters. And thank you to Fluency and Surratt for gifting me those items. And then I also purchased a few of the Armani Luminous Silk Cheek Tints, which I have to say I really like. I do notice some fading by the end of the day, but I think, you know, maybe like after 10 hours, I think I had maybe like 20% fading, and it was a hot day where I was like sweating and stuff a little bit. So, you know, it was definitely one of those days where your makeup can kind of really melt off of you. So I had about 20% fading or so from throughout the day, but the Surratt stayed put, and that did have some fading. But I have to say, I really like them because they're easy to use. They blend out beautifully. They've got great shades, and again, you don't feel any texture on your skin, and they really, you know, I just think they're really nice and easy to work with. I think the most similar formula would be the Valentino Liquid Rossos. So the most similar formula that I have are the Valentino Liquid Rossos. I think they're both great. So I hope this has been helpful. Let me know what you think of these products if you've tried any of these. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you very soon.